Alrighty, playing against Doo Docs. Let's play some d4. Bless me. Alright, so I haven't done one of these in a while. My rapid rating is as high as it's been in a while. Oops, I didn't mean to click that, but yeah, 2118. My peak is 2180 something, and then I dove all the way down into like the 2050 range, and now I'm building it back with these videos. But yeah, okay, we have a Benoni. Will it be a Benko, or will it just be a regular old Benoni? Oh yeah, I was gonna see. Oh, it is a Benko. Yeah, so he likes to play some bullet, he likes to play some blitz. Yeah. Okay, so I take the pawn. It's a free pawn. Why not take it? Now, I have it on good authority that the most annoying line to play against is the so-called pawn return variation. If he wants to gambit a pawn, I'm not going to let him, so. Also, this variation seems to avoid the need to know any theory, which I like. I really like not knowing theory. A lot of times they just take back with the queen right away, but I've also seen players just sort of, you know, keep going, keep playing chess, keep developing. Like, it doesn't seem like white can really protect this pawn. And b7's not really a big worry, I think, because it's developed for free. Okay, so this fellow decides to just take back right away. I think knight c3 makes a lot of sense. Get ready to play e4. And I guess I'll try to argue that black's queen isn't so good on b6. I guess it's totally feasible that one day I could play bishop e3 and try to go after the c5 pawn. Probably d6 will be played, and that won't really be a big weakness for black. But, you know, who knows? Anything could happen. It's funny, normally, you know, it's not too hard to get your knights out, but black actually can't get his knight out anywhere, which is sort of unusual, I guess. Okay, I think that doesn't really change my plan. Just go for e4, the bishop's gonna fianchetto, but what are you gonna do? So I guess b2 is gonna be a tender point with this bishop and pressure down the b file. So that'll be something to keep in mind. So bishop e3 might not really be on the cards. I may need something a little more solid, but probably rook b1 has to be played before any of that. Arguably, I should just go ahead and play rook b1 already, since it does seem like it's going to be a necessary move. Why not just get it out of the way? If I play knight f3, black may be ready to just pin. That often happens in the Benoni, but this knight would like to come to c4, I think. That's also very common in the Benoni. So I like to play bishop e2 first, and then if they hit me with bishop g4, I can just sort of move out of the way. If I go knight f3 first, then I'm giving black the option to exchange for the knight. Don't know if that's a huge deal. It's sort of always what I've liked to do, though. I guess I'll stick with that. I'll stick with what I know. So I'll get ready for this sort of maneuver. I'll castle kingside. I'll play rook b1. Maybe play b4 if the, you know, if my knight's not hanging at that moment. Yeah, black's dark square bishop is going to be quite bothersome, it seems. So we'll have to do what we can against that. I suppose I should even entertain like h4, h5 ideas. Like if black castle's here, I should probably entertain knight d2, h4, h5. Certainly looks interesting. Doesn't seem like black is going to be able to do much on the king side. So I don't know that I should really fear, you know, like later if I have to play like king f1, king g1. I don't know that black's going to be able to punish that so much. Okay, well, here we go, I suppose. I think I will go ahead and play knight d2 just because, well, A, I mean, the h4 idea is tempting. And B, if I don't play knight d2 right away, like if I just castle and black plays knight bd7, then I play knight d2, he can stop me from playing knight c4, or at least, you know, sort of, he'll have the option to just take and not lose a tempo after my knight lands on c4, the queen has to move. So I think it's nice that if this knight comes here, or even if this knight goes to d7, I can win a tempo with knight c4. Knight c4 also defends b2, so maybe I can run away with my bishop and rook a little bit more than I had planned to. But yeah, also h4. h4 is very tempting. It's the kind of thing that if I were black, I would be scared of. So I'm forced to consider it when I have white. Kind of not so easy to figure out what black should do. Like black still needs to develop the queen side. The bishop doesn't have anywhere to. Okay, so I mean, based on my previous statement, I should play knight c4 now. I think I still completely agree with that. And I can maybe even come into e3 later. That seems like a sort of nice square. I mean, my bishop I was sort of talking about could get there. Could still happen. Okay. Yeah, now bishop f4, you know, that seems like good things could happen, and maybe one day e5 is something to try to open up that diagonal. e5 is quite well defended though, so it will be difficult to achieve that. So I'm not so sure about bishop f4. I don't know that I can actually get e5 on the board. It would sort of take a lot. It would take like bishop f4, bishop g3, f4, e5. I mean, it could happen. It could certainly happen. That might even be a better long-term plan than this h4, h5 business. Probably it is a little bit more sane. And I do think white still has an advantage because I think it's a little bit harder to find a plan for black. I guess I need to ask myself if e5 or like e6 then bishop f4, but then I guess e5 could happen. So I mean, maybe there is some merit to getting the bishop to e5 to f4 right away. Bishop f4 does stop e6 or e5 from happening. And I'm not afraid of knight h5 because I'll just take it. So I think I have actually talked myself into this plan. the other hand, what am I doing if the knight comes to e5? Am I still playing bishop g3? Yeah, I'm not a big fan. If I wanted to have a really preposterously slow plan, I could play f4 first, then do this. That might be a little too slow. It's an extra tempo. I guess if he puts the knight there, I'll just take it, and then I'll argue that this pawn is weak. And it'll be a fairly believable argument. So, okay, let's go bishop f4. I'm a believer. So black still needs to solve the queenside somewhat. Rook b8 could happen. The bishop, the light scored bishop is not so good. I was looking at, like, if a5 happens, you know, I need to consider, like, knight b5 and some sacrifice on d6. Seems pretty optimistic, but it is tempting, isn't it? I mean, knight b5, a4 is probably good enough anyway. Convincing enough. Black probably has to calculate like e5 right away. I looked at it, I don't really believe in it. What else could black do? I think rook b8 is the most likely. Or knight e5, but I've figured out knight e5, I think. Rook b8, I think I could just castle. I could also... I mean, rook b1 is still probably a move that needs to happen. Yeah, I think I will play rook b1, because the knight on c4 is, like, a little bit overworked, right? Because I wanted to take here, and I like defending here. So, I think rook b1... I guess, like, queen c2 would also accomplish a similar thing, but the rook needs to get off this diagonal. Although b4 is not as appealing as it once was. If I move the queen to c2, maybe knight h5 becomes a more serious option. Doesn't lose a pawn. So I will play rook b1. I guess one nice point of rook b8 is now if he plays a5, knight b5 is no longer possible. I could consider playing a4 and then knight b5. That is making a pretty glaring hole on b4. Although it's not easy to foresee how black is exploiting that. I gotta be a little careful too of some removing the defender tactic. combining with this pin. So I need some other defender of the rook besides the knight, I think. Otherwise, like, even knight takes here. No, that wouldn't really work, but you know what I mean. Something like that. Okay, so yeah, I definitely could play a4. It's fairly tempting because a4, knight b5, some sacrifice here, and then, you know, I'm kind of doing a lot with this bishop. That one's, it's two pieces for a rook, but I'm also getting 2 pawns, and it looks pretty aesthetic, but I don't know if it's actually that good. If I play a5, I'm worried about b4, but like, it's really difficult to even find a way for one of black's knights, for example, to land there. It takes some time. You know, like this, for example, could happen, but it's very, very tempting. I guess I could also just play queen a4, maybe? And then I'm threatening this pawn right away, and I still have some ideas. But that undefends this rook, and I was mentioning there could be some tricks where the rook could hang. Decisions. Well, we have to imagine bishop a6 is coming next. So after bishop h6, am I really liking knight b5 so much? Probably not. But after queen a4, bishop a6 seems to just lose a pawn. Queen a4, knight b6, I'm sort of obligated to trade. I don't really want to trade. Maybe I just castle and move on with my life. I guess ultimately that is probably the simplest thing to do. And I would expect probably bishop a6 here. Queen a4 is again very possible. I think queen a4 is probably a pretty good move. Queen a4, there is rook b4. Queen takes a5. Queen takes, rook takes. Yeah, rook b4 is actually kind of annoying, isn't it? You know, I have to analyze knight takes d6, but I think bishop takes e2 refutes it. Interesting, though. Yeah, I think it doesn't work. Too bad. Okay, need to make a chess move. Let's just play a3, because I do think b4 is an annoying pivot square for his rook. Could cause me some grief, you know. e4 in particular. There could be some tactical possibilities here. Even though knight takes d6 wasn't working right away. Definitely some idea to keep in mind. Like if the queen, so knight d6, the problem I think is bishop e2. And my queen is hit. So if my queen is not being hit by bishop e2, then, you know, these things start to become a little more feasible. So if I'm revisiting like queen a4, that might make it, you know, like queen a4, then knight d6 might be working. But I mean, another problem with that is the bishop being undefended on f4. Because I'm sort of counting on some like discovered attack, but the bishop's undefended. You just take it. So maybe bishop g3 is a reasonable next move. And I can return to the f4 e5 plan, maybe. I think at some point black's going to do this exchange, because I don't know why. I mean, I don't think it's like that big of a deal. Like, that is supposedly his good bishop. Although this bishop's pretty good too. So probably bishop g3 next. I don't think my queenside plans are quite working all the way. What's black gonna do? Is he gonna take my knight? Is he gonna play knight e5? Is he gonna do some other move I hadn't thought of yet? He could maybe try to like double rooks on the b file. Okay, can I not take the a5 pawn? Is that not a thing I can do? I take the pawn, he takes my bishop, I take back somehow. Knight moves. I guess the knight could take. I guess the knight could take on d5. True. I mean, knight d6 I can also revisit, but doesn't seem to be cutting it. Well, I guess I'm taking on a5. I mean, I do get a passed pawn out of this. I'm not really going to be up a pawn, I don't believe. Actually, I may. Bishop takes, queen takes. I assume his point was to take here. I'll take with the pawn, and if he picks up, you know, the piece back, which I assume he would, then I can take here. There is rook e8, but d6 is hanging too. I mean, in any event, I don't want to take with this knight and drop e4. So I think I actually will be up a pawn here with a passer, and d6 will be weak. Or he could bail out of the whole thing, in which case I'm just up a pawn now with a passer. Although d6 is not weak, so you got me there. Which, I mean, if everything shakes out as I predicted, then this bishop f4 move, like, actually, you know, preventing the e-pawn from moving forward earlier, will actually have you know, paid off because the e-pawn is what's causing him a problem here. I mean, if this doesn't happen, then I think my knight is just gonna get nice and cozy on c6. Knight b5 is even, you know, on the menu at the moment. And I've spent too much time, but I'm still ahead on the clock, so what can you do? It seems like maybe he's realized. I mean, either that or he just didn't realize that a5 was no longer defended. I guess it's also possible. Okay. I was thinking about throwing in knight b5, but he can just take my bishop, and my queen is also hanging. So it's good to, you know, be getting rid of some of these bad options. It's good to do that. Bishop d2 is what I'm most drawn to. I mean, that makes any sort of knight takes d5 tactic just not work. Maybe I can try to get the bishop on c3 at some point. Yeah, let's try that. I guess I have to be a little careful about throwing the knight into c6. Because from c6, there's not really a ton of retreats. Basically, I can only go back to a5. So I have to be careful there. If d5 falls, then the knight could really be in some trouble. But I think like knight b5, bishop c3 is the short-term plan. This is definitely black's best piece, so I think if we can trade that off, we'll be feeling good. Got a pretty significant time advantage now too. Okay, so I could still play knight b5. I think I will play knight b5. It's sort of a why not move. It does, you know, defend the knight also. Forcing the queen to make a choice. I can't play bishop c3 right away because of this knight. He could be plotting c4. Yeah, the knights are a little awkward. Just a bit awkward. Oh, I gotta do something. I'm gonna try b4. Give this knight some extra defense. There goes my time advantage. Okay, let's try to get this in. Maybe he can take on b4. And then if I take the bishop, he takes the knight? I guess I can just... No, he can't do that. It's a tricky move to find. Ah. Oh wait, my queen's defending this thing. But if I win that thing, then those are equal things. Wait. I think I can get away with this because of tactical reasons. Take here, I take here. Oh, I did miss that. Okay. Well, I know how to play the only legal move. Okay, I think I'm gonna be able to get this back with a4. Wait, he has knight takes? I might just be down a piece then. Because I don't calculate stuff. Also, he can just throw this in. Well, that's not good. Let's go here. Maybe knight here. I guess rook b2. Okay, I mean that's. I mean I don't know. I don't know why that was necessary, but it doesn't seem so crazy. I guess. Yeah, I was thinking maybe here. And there's queen takes rook. I'm just gonna threaten this, I guess. We'll probably take somehow. Okay, well I probably have a better position than I deserve. Still not, you know, a good position, but beggars can't be choosers. E4 is hanging. Okay. I guess I'll defend it. This is a runner. Okay. I think queens move sideways, right? I like how I was losing and then he gave me all his pieces. Put some press. H4, H5. Attempt activity. He also likes activity. I don't know what's happening anymore. Knight here. Maybe I never knew. He's running. I picked a random square. This pawn's hanging. He took it. That's pretty scary. That's really scary. Pretty scary. Small threat. Okay. Let's just not even let you get your king up. Okay. I mean, he could have forced me to use my rook to get behind this pawn because my king's not in the square. So if he played c3, then I would eventually have to use the rook to catch the pawn. But okay, whatever. I'm up a rook. Like, I should eventually eventually figure it out. Okay, well, I didn't deserve to, you know, win that game. But yeah, luckily my opponent didn't find well, I think he just overreacted. I think he gave back material when he didn't need to. I think he hung his knight. And I also think there at the end, you know, when everybody was attacking the rooks, I think it seemed like maybe he didn't realize the point of my move, which was to attack his rook. It says he's totally winning here. I thought queen g3. Queen g3 defends the rook. And he still has all of his threats. So yeah, queen g3 seems not good. I think maybe that's the win. Oh, knight g3. Queen g3 also wins, but knight g3 it says is checkmate. Checkmate's annoying. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's try to learn from the game, I guess. Hopefully I will never play a game this badly again. I guess we'll start from the beginning. So yeah, I don't know a ton about the opening, the pawn return variation, but again, that's sort of why I play it. In fact, I know so little about it. Oh no, they're saying, yeah, okay, so the most common move for black is d6. I thought it was saying the most common move for white. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, that actually makes sense. I've seen people play this way where they don't regain the pawn right away. They sort of wait and do it later. Like I said, the pawn's not really going anywhere. Okay. Yep, so we're following lots of games. A lot of people just play knight f3 right away, don't bother with bishop e4. Knight d2 is the most common move, although castle scores a little bit better. Bless me. Knight bd7 and knight c4. We're still following lots of games. Queen c7. And bishop f4 is the most common move here. So I am pretty happy that I think realized that that's the best move. Computer talking about some other crazy stuff. a4. I don't really get a4. But I guess that's why I'm not a computer. Bishop f4 seems good. He played rook b8. So we can leave this on. It just wants to castle. It doesn't like this rook b1 so much. So I'm just curious, after castling, because my idea was I didn't like this situation. So if knight e5 is played, how are we reacting? Knight e5, d e5, bishop e3. Okay, so I guess what we're saying is if you take my pawn, I will play knight a4, and then I will take this. And then my pawns will be nice and pretty and your pawns won't. Yeah, that seems pretty believable. Yeah, that's the line it's giving. And it says white's better. Agreed. This bishop's a little silly. It's stuck looking at this pawn. Okay. So I didn't calculate deeply enough there. I just assumed that I needed to be able to defend both of these points. Okay. So none of that happened. a4, castles. a3 did feel a little, you know, uninspired. He sort of convinced me that this was good. Or I convinced myself. What about queen? That was my other, like, sort of idea. Okay, at least I was correct about this. I didn't realize that I couldn't take here. Yeah, I guess this is a big problem. Man, it says -6. Oh. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're kind of falling apart over here because everything's attacked. Okay, well, at least I didn't do that. I thought about b3, it just, you know, I didn't like it. Maybe it was, I don't think it was here I thought about b3. It doesn't like taking this, so I miscalculated something. Oh, it wants to just take this right away. Man, there's a lot to calculate to play that, because you gotta look at, like, bishop takes a6. You gotta look at knight takes, you gotta look at queen. Okay, you don't have to look at queen takes. You gotta look at pawn takes. So how does this work? Knight takes. And then if I take this, you take that. Everything's hanging. Chess is hard. Okay, I believe you. So he had to find this move first. That's a pretty tough move to play when you already have one piece hanging. But, like, it did seem like that was the whole point of knight b6, was that eventually, if I take the, like, that's what I thought. But I didn't mix up the move order, and I guess neither did he, because he didn't play it. And then after queen takes, he just reversed course, because he must have realized that this isn't working the way he thought it was. It says this is still the best move. And what he did's not so good. Bishop d2 was right. Rook over. Knight b5 is even correct. But then my knights just got so awkward here. So I need to learn from my mistakes. So it was b4. b4 is the computer move. And then after this, after rook c8, and then bishop c3 was a big blunder. Probably because of the stuff that happened in the game. Knight f4 and stuff. So what do I do? I mean, I guess I'd, like, is it just as simple as play knight c3? Could it be so simple? I guess I was just too resistant to doing that. But otherwise, like, this guy could get in trouble. Like, c4 and... I mean, I guess even if c4 happens, I could just play knight c3 then. So maybe I just don't do nothing. Maybe I just, like, move my rook over. Knight c6 is still legal. I think I like the bring the rook over idea. Knight c3 is tempting too, though. I mean, I guess I gotta solve this eventually, right? I could play like g3 and then do this, since knight f4 was the problem, which I didn't see. f4 and e5 is still some plan, maybe? Probably not with this, you know. Okay, I don't know. Let's guess rook fc1. Okay, that was good. Not the best, but it was good. It says knight c6 is just no problem. So knight c6, what I was scared of was e6. And then I really have to maintain a pawn on d5 to defend the knight. But it seems sort of tricky. So knight c6, e6, I mean, I assume it can be played right away. Then knight takes d6. Oh, because the computer's good at tactics. Ah, I forgot about that. I would never even, like, consider the move knight takes d6 here. Chess is so funny this way. Like, I never would consider that move ever. But then, like, once it's, like, once I see that that's what the computer wants to do, then I can, like, figure out why. So the point is, after knight c6, queen c6, we take. I mean, I don't know why I'm drawing arrows. I can just put it on the board. We take with a fork. And if you take the pawn, then there's bishop e3. Although the computer wanted something different. It wanted bishop b4. Because that actually traps the queen. Okay, I didn't see that. I saw a lot, but not everything. Wait, does it even try? I still don't understand everything? Because he can go here. I just wanted to go here and, like, win my piece back. Right. I am winning. Okay, so I still don't understand everything. What if he goes here? Take, and then there's this fork. Okay. Yeah, the computer is pretty good at tactics. Dang. So, I mean, if we're gonna figure out how to get better at chess, like, I saw this position. I guess the way I find this is, well, one downside of e6, if there's a downside, is that d6 has been undefended. And the other way is just to look at legal captures, which I didn't look at. It's a hard capture to look at, but I guess the fact that it's legal and that it's a capture, combined with the fact that that square has just been weakened, should be some sort of trigger to tell me to look for it. Now, in a you know, relatively quick game online, it's a big ask to look at knight takes d6, you know, when considering knight c6. Okay, so instead I went here, which is a blunder. Knight f4 is winning for black. And then he was just winning for a while, because none of my tactics worked. He found knight e2, which I had missed. And then I thought I was going to get my piece back, But then that was also stupid. So this was just bad. Like, I didn't see that knight takes a4 was legal. Like, obviously that's just giving away a pawn. It doesn't accomplish anything. I should just play knight c6 like immediately. Although it says I should play b takes c5, which I also don't get. So b takes c5, he takes my knight. I mean, like, queen e3 is sort of a fork. Is that the idea? Or am I playing c6 and claiming compensation? Oh wait, there's a pawn here. Jesus, okay, I'm stupid. Yeah, so I think I saw this was legal, but I didn't realize my pawn's attacking the knight. I think I stopped it. Oh, my knight's undefended. Okay, so this was stupid. And then I got my knight to a square. Yeah, and this, okay, this is what I meant, where I think he just overreacted. Like, I thought he was still winning. But, I mean, you know, he could just not do that. Like, that was sort of a nuclear option. And then he's winning. Yeah, I was looking at this, and I think queen takes b1. Oh, okay, it says that's fine, but it also just is okay with just taking these pawns. Okay, and then I moved around randomly. And then he blundered here. Well, yeah, he just like gave away a knight. And then I took it. And then he started outplaying me again. Like it was just equal here, and then he started beating me again. I didn't have much time. I was sort of just trying to get activity, make one move threats. And then my pieces got too far away from my king. And then I'm dead. I'm not going to focus too much on this because it was just playing on the increment. I didn't have enough time. Not much to learn here. It's funny that taking the rook just loses. So you got to be alert. I don't know if I mean, it sort of felt like maybe he just forgot or didn't see that that was the whole reason that I made that move. But why else would I make that move? Like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, now there's stuff. There's too many threats, and I think I did the right thing by trading queens first. Like, actually, even though the computer is saying queen f4 and queen f6 are the best moves, I'm gonna sort of object. Because I think if black wants to keep fighting, black needs to keep queens on the board. This is sort of, I mean, this is just too easy, which is what happened in the game. So, anyway, an undeserved win, but hey, I'll take it. So, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know, follow me and stuff. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.